Greetings, my friends. This is Mandino, your companion on this wondrous journey called life. Today, I stand before you with a message that can change the way you see yourself, your challenges, and your future. It's a message that has lifted me from the depths of despair and carried me to heights I never dreamed possible. It's a truth so powerful that it can transform your life if you let it. Are you ready? Then listen closely, for I'm about to share with you why failure is your stepping stone to greatness. Yes, you heard me right, failure. That word we dread, that shadow we flee, that burden we carry in silence. Failure is not your enemy, my friends. It is your teacher, your guide, your ally on the road to success. Today, I'm going to show you how to embrace failure, learn from it, and use it to propel yourself to greatness. So, take my hand, open your heart, and let's walk this path together. Let me start with a confession. Mandino was once a failure, not just in one moment, but in countless moments. There was a time when my life was a wreckage of broken dreams, shattered hopes, and a heart heavy with regret. I was a man lost in the fog of despair, convinced that I was unworthy, incapable, destined to live in the shadows. I had fallen so far that I thought I could never rise again. I was an insurance salesman who couldn't sell, a husband and father who felt he had let his family down, a soul adrift in a sea of self-doubt. But in that darkness, I found a light, a truth that changed everything. I discovered that failure is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a new chapter. It is not a wall, but a door. It is not a curse, but a blessing in disguise. My failures became my teachers, showing me what I needed to learn, where I needed to grow, and who I needed to become. And today, I stand before you as proof that failure, when embraced with courage and wisdom, is the stepping stone to greatness. Let's start by shattering a myth. We live in a world that fears failure, a world that whispers, failure is shameful. Failure is final. Failure means you're not enough. But I say to you, that is a lie! Failure is not a mark of defeat. It is a badge of courage. It is the proof that you dared to try, that you stepped into the arena, that you reached for something greater than yourself. Think about the greatest men and women in history. Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. Abraham Lincoln, who faced countless defeats before becoming one of America's greatest presidents. Helen Keller, who overcame unimaginable obstacles to inspire the world. What did they have in common? They failed again and again, and yet they rose stronger each time because they understood that failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of it. Failure is like the rain that falls before the harvest. It may seem harsh, cold, and unforgiving, but it nourishes the soil of your soul, preparing you for the growth that is to come. Without failure, there is no learning. Without struggle, there is no strength. Without setbacks, there's no triumph. So, why is failure your stepping stone to greatness? Let me share with you 5 eternal truths that will show you how to transform failure into the fuel for your success. Every failure carries a lesson, a pearl of wisdom that success alone cannot give you. When you succeed, you celebrate, but when you fail, you learn. Failure forces you to look within, to ask the hard questions. What went wrong? What can I do better? How can I grow? These questions are the seeds of greatness, planted in the fertile ground of adversity. I remember a time early in my career when I lost a major sale. I had prepared, I had practiced, I had poured my heart into it, and yet I failed. I was devastated. But as I sat with that failure, I realized it was showing me something. I had been too focused on my own needs, not the needs of my client. That lesson changed the way I approached every sale thereafter, and it led to successes I could never have imagined. Failure was my teacher, and I was its humble student. So the next time you fail, don't run from it. Sit with it, listen to it. Ask, what is this teaching me? The answers you find will guide you to greatness. Greatness is not the absence of obstacles. It is the courage to push through them. Every time you fail and rise again, you strengthen the muscle of resilience. You become tougher, wiser, more determined. Failure is like a fire that tempers steel. It makes you stronger, not weaker. I think of my own life, those dark days when I thought I had nothing left to give. But each time I chose to get up, to try again, I grew stronger. I learned that resilience is not something you're born with. It's something you build one failure at a time. The world may knock you down, but it cannot keep you down unless you let it. So embrace your failures as opportunities to grow stronger. Each time you rise, you prove yourself unstoppable. Each time you persist, you take one step closer to greatness. Failure has a way of stripping away the unnecessary, revealing what truly matters. It forces you to focus, to refine your goals, to align your actions with your deepest purpose. When you fail, you are given a chance to ask, what do I really want? Why am I here? These questions are the compass that guides you to your destiny. In my own journey, failure clarified my purpose. When I hit rock bottom, I realized that my true calling was not just to sell insurance or chase wealth. It was to inspire others, to share the principles of success that had lifted me from despair. Failure stripped away my illusions and showed me the path I was meant to walk. So, when you face failure, ask yourself, what is this showing me about my purpose? Let it guide you to the life you were born to live. There is a fire that burns within every soul who has tasted failure and refused to surrender. That fire is determination, the unyielding resolve to keep going, no matter the odds. Failure does not extinguish this fire. It fans the flames. I've seen this in countless lives, and I've lived it myself. Every rejection, every setback, every closed door only made me more determined to succeed. When the world said, "You can't," I said, "I will." That determination, born in the crucible of failure, carried me to heights I never thought possible. So, let your failures fuel your determination. Let them remind you of what you're fighting for. Let them ignite the fire within you, and let that fire burn until you achieve your dreams. Finally, my friends, failure is a universal language. It is the thread that binds us all, for who among us has not failed? When you embrace your failures, you become a beacon of hope for others. Your story of rising from defeat inspires those who are struggling, showing them that they too can overcome. In my books and speeches, I share my failures not to boast, but to connect. I share them to say, I've been where you are, and I've found a way through. When you share your failures with humility and courage, you lift others up. You show them that greatness is not reserved for the perfect. It is earned by those who dare to fail and rise again. Now that you know why failure is your ally, let me share with you a practical blueprint for turning failure into greatness. These are the steps I've lived, the principles I've taught, the truths that have transformed countless lives. The first step is to accept your failure without shame. Do not hide from it. Do not deny it. Do not let it define you. Failure is an event, not a person. It is something you experience, not something you are. Say to yourself, I have failed, but I am not a failure. This simple shift in perspective will free you to move forward. Every failure carries a lesson. Take time to reflect. Write down what went wrong and why. Be honest with yourself, but be kind. Ask, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? The answers you find will become the stepping stones to your next success. Failure often clouds our vision, but it can also clarify it. Use this moment to revisit your goals. Are they aligned with your purpose? Are they worthy of your effort? Refocus your vision, set new goals, and let your failure guide you toward a clearer path. The greatest danger of failure is not the failure itself, but the temptation to give up. Do not let failure paralyze you. Act again, and act now. Take one small step toward your goal today. It might be a phone call, a plan, a moment of courage. Every action you take after a failure is a victory, a step toward greatness. In my scrolls, I wrote, I will persist until I succeed. These words are not just a mantra, they are a way of life. Persistence is the bridge between failure and greatness. No matter how many times you fall, rise again. No matter how many doors close, knock again. No matter how dark the night, keep moving toward the dawn. Finally, share your journey with others. Your failures and the triumphs that follow are not just for you, they are for the world. When you share your story, you inspire others to keep going. You become a light in their darkness, a reminder that failure is not the end, but the beginning. Let me share a story to bring this to life. Imagine a young man starting a business with big dreams. He pours his heart into it, but the business fails. He loses everything, his savings, his confidence, his hope. The world tells him to quit, to play it safe, to give up. But he remembers these words, failure is my stepping stone to greatness. He accepts his failure, learns from his mistakes, refocuses his vision, and takes action again. He starts a new venture, smaller this time, but wiser. He persists through every challenge, and slowly his business grows. Years later, he stands as a beacon of success, not because he never failed, but because he used his failures to build something extraordinary. This story is not fiction. It is the story of countless men and women who have turned failure into greatness. And it can be your story too. So, my friends, what will you do with your failures? Will you let them define you, or will you use them to refine you? I challenge you right now to take one step toward turning your failures into greatness. Accept a past failure without shame. Write down one lesson it taught you. Take one small action today to move forward. And above all, persist. I leave you with this promise. If you embrace failure as your teacher, if you let it build your resilience, clarify your purpose, fuel your determination, and connect you to others, you will transform your life. You will rise from the ashes of defeat to stand on the mountaintop of greatness. You are not here to live a small life. You are here to shine, to inspire, to achieve. This is Mandino, your friend and guide. Go now, my brothers and sisters, and let your failures be the stepping stones to your greatness. Live with courage, live with purpose, and live with love. The world is waiting for you. Seize this moment and make it yours.